This past weekend, I completed a race that was a 4.8-mile swim and a 224-mile bike ride. I started at 7 o'clock in the morning and I finished at 7 a.m. the next day, right as dawn was breaking. It was stunningly beautiful. During this time, if you eat too much of the wrong thing, your gut will tell you very quickly. You'll get GI issues, cramping, nausea, and you won't be able to eat. And of course, you need your nutrition. If you don't get enough of the right thing, people literally start hallucinating. And that happened on the race course. The term for this is bonk. So they bonk, they can't think, they might even like drive off the road, and they absolutely cannot fake a smile. So I was really touched afterwards when many people came up to me and said, "You were such a bright light the whole time. You were always smiling." I don't think that that was an accident. I attribute that to excellent blood sugar management over those 24 hours. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I'm Dr. Cynthia Clark. I'm an acupuncturist, nutritionist. I'm a functional medicine practitioner and a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. And I'm the creator of Decode Your Dolphin Metabolic Reset. So, all right, we're going to try something a little different today. Thank you for your patience as I do this. And here we go. So this is me finishing the race. It's by a company called Anvil. And what you get to do when you finish an Anvil race is you get to hit a hammer on an anvil. One of my lessons from this race was really how much of a group effort it was. In addition to the 2 crew people that I had supporting me, there were a whole village of people that were there just to support their athletes. It was really humbling. Like when I finished this race, I said, we did this. There's no way that I did it alone. So I want to be on your team today and help you finish the race that you want to do. Whatever, you don't have to do an ultra endurance event. I don't mean that. I just mean whatever it is that's important to you in life. It really helps when we have good crew for us. So let's go back to this GI drama, because everything that happens in a race like this is really just a microcosm of what happens in your everyday life. So we've got the GI drama, and you might experience that as brain fog or afternoon crashes or mood swings. And that's everyday blood sugar regulation. It's just in slow motion. So today I want to talk to you about what blood sugar actually is in plain English, why diabetes looks so different today than it did 100 years ago, how this ties into traditional Chinese medicine concept called dampness and leaky gut, and how different bodies, different archetypes in the metabolic reset program of Decode Your Dolphin, different phases, need different strategies with keto or fasting or food timing. Because one of the questions I get asked most often in clinic is, well, what about intermittent fasting, or what about keto? And the answer is, it has to do with your physiology. One of the things I've learned from, athletes, not anybody I've ever gotten to meet, but, athletes that are really performing into their 30s and their 40s and their 50s, is that they do that by knowing their bodies. It's not the same formula for everyone. And if you stay to the end, I'll share with you how you can take the next step and actually decode your dolphin, decode your metabolism with me. So let's talk about blood sugar 101 and what's actually happening. So pop right over here. There we go. In real life, what's happening is blood sugar is just the amount of sugar or glucose floating in your bloodstream, ready to be used as fuel. Your body likes it in a fairly narrow Goldilocks zone, not too high and not too low. And that is one of the things that I really experienced on the race course. So like there's certain amount of nutrient that we need per every half hour. And when it was during the day and I was sweating a lot, actually needed less of the sugar, but more of the electrolytes. During the night, when it got cooler, and I wasn't sweating nearly as much, I needed more of, I'm going to call them sugar, and less of the electrolytes. And then when my mood started to drop, I learned that that was happening because my blood sugar was dropping. And so I had these little maple syrup candies that I carried with me. So if my mood started to drop, I would take one of the maple syrup candies. But I really quickly discovered that if I took a whole one, it was too much for my tummy and I would start having tummy issues. So what I had to do instead was I had to cut them in half and just take half of one. So it is really an art of getting exactly the right amount of sugar or glucose floating in your bloodstream to be used as fuel, because if it's too little, it's not going to work and you might not create the dopamine, you might not have the energy to do what you need to do. And if it's too much, then you can, well, I mean, over time, you're going to cause diabetes, but even in the moment, you're going to cause GI issues, right? So it's a really, really, really narrow line. And the hormone that manages this is insulin. I want you to picture insulin as a key. When you eat, especially carbohydrates, your blood sugar rises. The pancreas releases insulin. That insulin key walks over to your cells and says, hey, let's let some of the sugar in so that we can make energy. And when that system works well, you feel steady energy between meals, you've got a clear mind, and you can go 3 to 4 hours without getting hangry or shaky, because, let's all be honest, is that the hangers can be a really serious relationship liability, right? If you're not managing your blood sugar and you say something mean or even snippy to someone that you love, like that can really hurt and that can cause long-term damage. So it's important. It's especially important if the people around you are, have taken off work and are staying up overnight to crew for you on a race. Like, you don't ever want to be mean to the people that are giving so much to be there for you. So we don't want to get hangry or shaky. And when it doesn't go well, you feel like you're on a roller coaster. You eat, and then your sugar spikes and your insulin spikes, and then your blood sugar crashes too low. And then you're suddenly irritable and you can't think straight. And you're standing in front of the pantry wondering who ate all your willpower. It's like, it's just going to go in. There's no like, oh, I only need half of the maple candy. It's like, I'm going to eat the house. Over time, when we ask insulin to spike over and over with processed food and constant snacking, the cells stop listening. And this is called insulin resistance. Your body responds by making more insulin, and then that excess insulin does 2 really important things. Number 1 is it tells your body to store fat, especially around the midsection. Oh, we hate that one, don't we? And it promotes inflammation that tires you out and makes blood sugar even harder to control. And that just seems unfair, because we're eating because we're tired, but then we're eating the wrong amount and now we've got inflammation and that makes us tired, and that's a rigged game, right? So if you feel like your body is storing everything you eat, even when you're trying really hard, that's not even willpower problem. That is a signaling problem. So this is something I think is not given nearly as much visibility as it deserves. So let's zoom out for a moment. If we go back 100 years, diabetes was relatively rare. When it showed up, it was usually because the body couldn't make enough insulin. Food was simple. There was no high fructose corn syrup, no ultra processed snack aisle, and no drive-through frappuccinos. But fast forward to today, and the person who had diabetes was skinny, skinny, skinny. But we fast forward to today, and we have type 2 diabetes and prediabetes everywhere. We see something we call diabesity, a combination of obesity, insulin resistance, inflammation, often fatty liver. And I got to tell you, this feels horrible. This all of that feels like, man, I do not want to get off the couch. I would really just rather eat my Teddy Grahams and stay put, because I don't feel good when I exercise. And the reason that we don't feel good is because that inflammation is sloughing through and we have a lot of it, and it takes time. So one of my rules with myself was, when I first started, really upping my exercise was I get to be as cranky as I want until I finish my workout. And I would do my workouts at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I had permission to gripe however as much as I wanted and be done by 6 a.m. And over, not too long, but maybe up to 3 months, things kind of floated through. And then I wasn't like really irritated about being there and working hard and having to do all of this anymore. Then it was okay. Because that inflammation had really processed through and I wasn't experiencing it as like the grumps. So what changed over the last 100 years? One of the big things is that both sugar and high fructose corn syrup exploded. We went from sugar being an occasional treat to sugar and high fructose corn syrup in everything, everything, everything. We even put it in one of the sweetest things we have. We put it in juice. And of course, sodas and sauces and breads and even health bars. Fructose in particular goes straight to the liver and is easily turned into fat. And that's one of the things that can cause fatty liver and high triglycerides. Like for a long time, we associated fatty liver with alcoholic fatty liver disease. But the only difference between alcoholic fatty liver disease and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is whether you got it by alcohol or orange juice, because orange juice is fructose. And if you're a big fructose drinker, if you're a big orange juice drinker, then that can really rock your world. The second thing that happened is that industrial seed oils became the default fat. 100 years ago, most fats were traditional: butter, lard, tallow, olive oil. Now we get a huge amount of our fat from processed oils like soybean oil and corn oil and canola oil. And these are all really high in omega-6. And those are an inflammatory compound. So if you hear high omega-6, just think pain. Easily oxidized and strongly linked with inflammation and metabolic dysfunction. So it's not a fair game. You can be eating not high calories, not high sugar, but be eating a lot of these seed oils that are very common these days and a lot of these high omega oils and feel like junk. And you don't want to get up and exercise because everything's just all achy and cranky. And the third one are pesticides and environmental toxins increased. And there's a reason that we had a good reason for getting into the genetically modified foods and the pesticides. It had to do with our borderline famine that we had during World War II. And we just wanted to increase our efficacy of growing crops. I'm an industrial engineer before I became an acupuncturist. I appreciate efficiency, but we didn't do our homework. We didn't study the long-term effects of GMOs on our digestive systems. And we didn't study the long-term effects of the pesticide exposure. Just word out to our farmers, especially to our farmers, right? Like back in the day, I was just hearing a story from one of my clients the other day, the way that before GPS, so not that long ago, right? Like the 80s, the way that the crop dusters would apply the pesticides is they would have the farmers stand on the field with a rain jacket and an umbrella, and they would crop dust over that row of crops. And then they would have the farmer walk to the next row, and then they would crop dust over the next row. So as bad as, all of us have for the exposure to these things, man, our farmers of that generation, of that era, really, really took one for the team there. So just a word of appreciation for those farmers. As these pesticides and environmental toxins increase, they don't just sit there. They interact with our hormones, our immune system, and our guts. And they create a toxic terrain that makes insulin resistance and weight gain easier to get and reversal harder. So when you put all that together, you just get a very different diabetes picture than our great-grandparents had. Used to be the diabetes people were skinny, 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 and nowadays they're big. It's what we expect when somebody has diabetes. Oh, they're going to be a big person. From a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, what we see now is not just high sugar. We see a combination of spleen qi deficiency, which is weak digestion and energy production, and lots of dampness, the metabolic sludge and extra fluid, and often liver qi stagnation. So that's stress and irritability and emotional eating. So, what does blood sugar dysregulation feel like? Now, let's, there's some things that we all know, right? Hangry is going to be the one that we're all familiar with. If you go too long without eating, you might get shaky or snappy or anxious. Or I knew one girl that she just got like dim. She just couldn't think straight, and she just kind of looked really sweet and really pleasant and just like wouldn't go. And oftentimes, when you get into this state, you rely on caffeine just to feel baseline human, usually with cream and sugar or a sweetened drink. Like here in the South, we like our sweet iced tea. And you wake up tired, you get a second wind with caffeine, and then you crash in the afternoon. And you try to suppress your appetite all day, and then you overeat at night. So you feel puffy, bloated, or just inflamed, and your clothes feel tighter even if the scale hasn't moved much. So it's not just hangry, it's this erratic energy level throughout the day, and like, I need coffee to keep going, instead of, oh, I just need to eat. You can also experience brain fog, low motivation, and needing sugar hits just to feel a little bit of joy or focus. Out on that race course, I really saw this happen in real time. People who mismanaged their blood sugar lost their mental clarity. And honestly, it was a ride through the night. So all of us were tired, and muscles were sore. It was easy to, uh, um, for your eyes to play those kinds of tricks of depth perception and, what is this that I'm really biking into? But that was different than the people who were like actively hallucinating. Like, friends were coming out of the forest to hang out with them. And, maybe trying to lead them off into the forest. So not good, not good. So they lost their mental clarity, and they also lost their spark. You can feel it on them. You say hi to them, and they don't even have the energy to respond. They don't have a smile to give. And that was even before their muscles completely gave out. So they were still going, right? We can operate like this on a daily basis all the time. We go, we're still going, we're still going, we're still going. But that doesn't mean that we've got our spark. That doesn't mean we're thinking clearly. That doesn't mean we've got the juice to bring it all together. If you see yourself in this, there's nothing wrong with you. Your body is doing as its best with the inputs that it's getting. We just need to change the story. What's wrong is what's coming in. So let's talk about these words that we use in traditional Chinese medicine, which are dampness, and then in functional medicine, we talk about leaky gut and confused signals. So let's talk about dampness. Dampness is like internal humidity or sludge. It's what happens when the digestion is weak and the body can't fully transform food and fluids into clean energy and waste. Think about if you sat down and you had like your whole meal was like a huge pot of fondue, followed by pizza, followed by cheesecake. Like, and you had several servings of each, right? You're just going to feel like you can't even move. Those foods are all very damp, and that's what dampness feels like. So it's created in modern life through too much sugar, too many refined carbs. This is one that often surprises people. Lots of cold and raw foods when the digestive fire is weak. If your digestive fire is strong, then you could probably handle some salads from time to time. If it's weak, you're going to get tired when you eat a salad, or you're not going to notice it giving you the energy that you think it should. Also, processed oils, seed oils, and fried foods, and not enough movement. So if we just sit, if we're sedentary, recent studies have shown that sitting for 8 hours a day, like many of us do at our desks, sitting for 8 hours a day has the same health risks as smoking. So Chinese medicine has long had this awareness of you got to move in order to reduce the dampness. It feels like bloating or puffiness or swelling, or heaviness in the body, or brain fog, or stubborn weight that doesn't budge easily. Add to that leaky gut, where the gut lining is irritated and more permeable than it should be. So we get things like food particles and toxins and bacteria slip through the gut, and they trigger the immune system. So now we've got this whole inflammation cycle, which worsens insulin resistance, and it increases cravings, and it makes you more tired after you eat. If you are tired after you eat, something is really wrong. So, in Western terms, we're talking about dysbiosis and increased intestinal permeability. In TCM, we're talking about spleen qi deficiency with dampness and sometimes damp heat. They're two languages describing the same pattern. One more subtle point: thirst versus hunger. Most people I see mildly dehydrated are also insulin resistant. The body sends out a distress signal, and we interpret almost all signals as, I should eat. Next time you're starving an hour after a meal, try this. Pause. Start drinking water. Ideally, you want to sip that water, but if you haven't been drinking for a while, just dig in, take some gulps down, know that you're going to be going to the bathroom in a little bit, but just get it in. And then take a little walk and reassess. If you're still hungry after that, your body may really well need fuel. But if not, you might have been thirsty or just chasing a dopamine hit. So, next, let's talk about keto. Is it a powerful tool or is it metabolic stress? So, keto is essentially very low carb, higher fat, moderate protein. The goal is to shift your body from burning mostly glucose to burning fat and ketones. In my Decode Your Dolphin framework, I do see people this helps tremendously, but it's not everyone. Who can do well with a keto style approach? Often these are my walrus type clients. They're the ones with significant insulin resistance, higher fasting insulin, higher HbA1c, fatty liver, big sugar cravings, midsection weight gain. For these folks, lowering carbs and increasing healthy fats can be like lifting a heavy fog. Their insulin quiets down, the snack monster calms, and weight can finally move. But who is it not good for? These are my sea turtle types. These are the ones with the slower thyroids. They're a little cold, they're a little tired, and they might even have autoimmune disease. Or my blue whales, and these are the aging people. So deeper kidney yin and yang deficiency. They might have some fatigue, poor recovery, feeling like the batteries are drained. These bodies are already on low power mode, and pulling carbs down too far can worsen fatigue, lower body temperature, stall thyroid conversion, ding, 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 and create intense cravings or eventual binges. So if you have thyroid issues and you're doing a lot of keto and a lot of intermittent fasting, then you really need to work with a healthcare provider trained to look deeply into your thyroid numbers and to see if there's a problem with the thyroid conversion. It's not just the TSH. You've got to get deeper into the thyroid. So if you've tried keto and you felt colder or more exhausted or emotionally flat, that's data. It's not that you failed keto. It's that keto was the wrong tool for your archetype. Or as a friend of mine who used to be a dancer said, it's the wrong, she would say this of the costumes. The girls would say to each other, it's not the right cut for you. There's nothing wrong with keto. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just not the right thing for you. So one of the other questions I get a lot is about intermittent fasting and when is it medicine and when is it stress? So by that, I simply mean by intermittent fasting, we're just talking about tightening your eating window, maybe eating between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. or 12 p.m. and 8 p.m. and extending your overnight fast. For some people, especially walrus types with insulin resistance, late night eating and constant snacking, this can be powerful. It gives insulin a break. It gently lowers overall caloric intake, and it can improve blood sugar markers. But again, not everyone. If you're a sea turtle or blue whale, so you're hypothyroid or you're cold or you're postmenopausal or you're exhausted, or if you're my octopus type, so this is like the high stress, wired and tired, the cortisol is going all over the place and you're running on cortisol, then skipping breakfast and white knuckling your way to noon can backfire. It can spike cortisol, lead to more evening overeating and worsen sleep, and leave you feeling like your nervous system is always in fight or flight. So my rule of thumb is if fasting leaves you clear, calm, and steady, it's probably helping. But if it leaves you cold, wired, or binge prone, it's not your tool right now. A lot of ladies I see are extremely disciplined and they will white knuckle it through, okay, it's okay if I'm cold. It's okay if I'm wired. It's okay if I'm feel like binging, I'm going to not do it. So maybe for you, your telltale sign is going to be your weight isn't moving. Maybe you're doing this to lose weight and the weight isn't moving. That's because your cortisol is so dysregulated. This isn't the right fit for you right now. It's not the right cut. Okay. So now let's talk about good choices that help everyone. Let's get grounded. So, number one, anchor every meal with protein. Most women I see are under eating protein and under eating quick carbs, or, like I said, sometimes just under eating. So, aim for roughly 20 to 30 grams of protein at meals. That number is actually dependent upon your weight. So, you want to take your weight and divide it in half, and that will give you half your body weight in grams of protein. That's your daily amount of protein. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you're shooting for about 100 grams of protein a day. And then you got to break that up to your different meals. So you might get that protein from eggs or fish or poultry or tofu or tempeh or a quality protein shake. The more you can eat food, the more I encourage you to, versus the shakes. Although certainly if you need them, lean into them. Don't break yourself trying to be perfect. And it's okay if it's a step, but if you've been living on protein shakes for a while and you're noticing that you're like not eating as much food as you should, then you may want to explore trying to work in another meal and dropping the protein shake. So protein stabilizes your blood sugar and it keeps you full longer. And a big one is it supports muscle, which is your metabolic engine. Muscle is also part of your immune system. Okay, the second thing you're going to do is add natural fats and fiber. Our satiety comes from leptin and fats. You're not going to feel full unless you have enough fat. So think olive oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, whole food fats, and plenty of non-starchy veg. These slow down how quickly sugar hits your bloodstream and heals the gut. And the third one is crowd out, don't just cut out. We do want to minimize sodas and sugary coffee drinks, candies and pastries, and ultra processed snacks, especially those that are fried in seed oil. But instead of pure restriction, I want you to think about what can I add that really nourishes me? That is a much more fun game, a much more rewarding game. That's what you're actually after in the first place. A warm stew, roasted veg, a handful of nuts with cinnamon, herbal tea, to really try to tune into what truly nourishes me. Number 4 is timing and light. Your body handles food better in the daytime. We think that we're supposed to eat when it's daylight outside. So aim to eat most of your calories earlier in the day and finish 2 to 3 hours before bed when possible. A short walk after your biggest meal works wonders for your blood sugar. And number 5 is hydration. Sip water and herbal teas throughout the day. If you exercise or live in a hot climate, a pinch of sea salt or electrolytes can really, really, really help. All right, this is one of my favorite concepts, which is true nourishment. And this is state over macros. We can't only talk about carbs and protein and fat. We have to talk about state. You can eat the most perfectly balanced meal in a state of stress. So maybe you just got some bad news, or maybe you are trying to eat while running out of your office and running to your car and trying to let the person that you're going to pick up know that you're on your way, right? You're not going to digest anything that you eat in those moments cleanly. Maybe you're like doom scrolling. I'm not against, sometimes we just need a little healthy distraction to quiet our minds while we eat. So if you're absorbing something that's good and healthy and light and maybe makes you laugh, then that can be really healthy, especially if you're eating alone. But if you're like watching the news while you're eating, or answering emails or arguing with your kids, and still feel bloated and tired and unsatisfied, this is coming because your nervous system is in a fight or flight state. And in that state, digestion is not a priority. Your vagus nerve, which is the highway of your rest and digest system, is basically on mute. When we strengthen vagal tone by slowing down and dropping into a parasympathetic mode before we eat, everything changes. You digest better, you absorb more nutrients, and you feel more satisfied with less food. Over time, this also rewires your dopamine patterns. And remember, dopamine is like the reward and the get her done vibe. So it's motivation. High sugar, ultra processed foods give you big dopamine spikes followed by big crashes. That trains your brain to chase more and more stimulation for less and less reward. And it's a miserable loop, and it gets more and more miserable. So if you ever had like a favorite food or maybe a piece of chocolate that used to be such a boost and then it like loses its juice over time, that's what's happening. Yet when you stabilize blood sugar, eat real food, and pair that with a relaxed nervous system, dopamine signaling slowly normalizes. You start to enjoy simple foods again, feel motivated without constant coffee, and experience pleasure from everyday life, not just intense hits. Here's a tiny ritual that you can start today. Before each meal, put your feet on the floor. Take 3 slow breaths. Look at your food and even silently say one sentence of gratitude. Then begin eating. That's it. That alone, repeated consistently, will change how your body handles the exact same plate of food. From insight to action, as we wrap up, I want you to imagine something. Imagine understanding your own metabolic archetype, whether you're more walrus or sea turtle or manatee or octopus, and having a roadmap that fits your labs, your symptoms, and your nervous system. Imagine not guessing whether keto or fasting or GLP-1 drugs are good or bad in general, but knowing clearly, for my body, this helps, or for my body, this is too much stress right now. That's what we do in Decode Your Dolphin. We combine detailed lab work, blood sugar, insulin, lipids, hormones, nutrients, and your lived experience, fatigue, cravings, mood, sleep, digestion, your personal goals, what really matters to you, whether it's being there for your kids or your grandkids, whether it's showing up with a great attitude for your partner, or maybe you want to pursue a lofty athletic goal. And finally, traditional Chinese medicine patterning like dampness and spleen qi and kidney yang. And when we translate that into very practical changes in food, movement, sleep, and self care that are actually doable in real life with jobs, kids, and stress and messy buns. If today's conversation is resonating with you, if you're thinking, that's me, that's my hangry, that's my brain fog, that's my crash, then I'd love to help you go deeper. Here's how you can take the next step. If you're watching live, drop the word dolphin into the chat or comments. You'll get a link to learn more about the Decode Your Dolphin Metabolic Reset and how to apply to work with me. For some of you, that will mean a full 3 to 5 month program. For others, it might start with a lab review and a personalized plan. My core belief is your body is designed to do magnificent things. If it's not showing up for you in the way that you want, it's communicating with you. Don't give up on it. It loves you. It's your best friend. It wants to be there for you in every possible way. When we listen through labs, through symptoms, through what really matters to you, through the energetics of TCM, we can support it in the way it's been asking for all along. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you found this helpful, hit like and subscribe and share it with a friend who's always hangry or exhausted, and you'll get my free PDF follow-up from this, where I combine all of this great information into an easy to read, easy to follow guide. And if you're ready to steady your blood sugar, lift the fog, and feel like a bright light again from the inside out, I'd be honored to be part of that journey with you. So I'm Dr. Cynthia Clark, and I can't tell you how much it means to me to get to help people transform their lives. It's my favorite thing in the world to do. I'm super excited about the opportunity to speak with you. I offer a free 10-minute consult so that you can have a chance to find out if I'm a real person or a deep fake AI. If I'm someone that you really want to work with, and I have a chance to see if you're someone that I really think I can help. If you'd like to do that, then you can go to you can put it in the chat, or you can just go to my website at longevitywellnessclinic.com, or Decode Your Dolphin, and apply for that complimentary consult. And I would love to help you get started on taking the next step. My goal for everyone is for those moments to be meaningful and for you to have valuable takeaway. So I hope you have a really fantastic day. Thank you so much for your time. I'm honored with your presence and your attention, and I look forward to seeing you on the next